Welcome to the Fergus Falls Business Spotlight Podcast, the show that takes a deep dive into local businesses and the individuals that run our community. To guide you along the way, here's your host, Jacob Bittner.
Steven Ness, my guest today.
That's my name, yep.
I just met you, 30 seconds ago, a minute and a half ago?
Yeah, maybe a minute and a half.
We shook hands. We didn't even get to know each other really at all. So
we have not.
I'm excited for this. I'm just really excited to dig in this. We're talking Liberty Businesses Group.
Liberty Business Systems.
I'm
close.
Okay. Liberty Business Systems.
That's right.
And so we're obviously the Fergus Falls Business Spotlight Podcast. I interview a lot of musicians, other people too. I had a rowdy weekend this last weekend at WeFest. Got some interviews in there, a lot of content that will just never make its way onto the internet, I believe, because that's where that stuff belongs, buried.
What stays at WeFest? What happens at WeFest stays at WeFest, right?
Absolutely. So, yeah, I had a chat with Jenny Christensen. This episode is actually going to replace her episode on air tomorrow.
Okay.
Wednesday, the 8th, 9th? Was it 8th today? Something like that. This Wednesday here. Jenny I had a great conversation with her, but she's going to be running for city council. So the whole equal time to political candidates, her interview can't go out on
We
air.
love politics.
But I highly recommend checking out the Jenny Christensen interview. And if in the event that my podcast were to ever disappear off of the air for any reason, blame it on the government, but you can find me on other platforms. So don't worry too much about it. If you're listening on 1250 AM, you'll be able to find me if my show ever happens to disappear. So
you'll be in a bunker somewhere, right?
That's right. I asked, you're not a beer drinker. You got your coffee in, your iced coffee.
Yeah, I've got a caffeinated through coffee. That's just my jam.
That's what we like. You know, my mom's she's a Caribou. She's a hard Caribou working Caribou employee.
Oh,
so
there we go.
We respect Caribou coffee a lot. I'm a big fan of Caribou coffee.
Yep.
You know?
I love Perks. I love Caribou. Yeah.
But I cannot mention Caribou without mentioning the best coffee, which is Stumbino's. They've been with me since day one almost with the podcast. So I wake up every morning with Stumbino's. So that's definitely my go-to.
Well, Stumbino's has been great for us as well. We have a Liberty blend that they've worked with us on. So we give that to our clients. So it's great. It's great that you mentioned that.
Yeah, I like it. We've also got here the beer of the week we do every week. You're not a beer drinker, but I'm going to be cracking open this Edge Catcher.
Do you put it by the mic so you just get the nice?
I'm going to do that. I'm going to make sure I do that here. It's splatter beer all over myself here. This description here is pairing West Coast bitterness with East Coast soft mouthfeel. Outstate calls this double IPA a Minnesota hazy. Double dry hopped with Mosaic and Cascade hops, tropical fruit and citrus flavors dominate the palate with a light maltiness in the background. So this beer was actually, I think it was like top 20 in the nation for beers over 60 IBU. So they're looking for that like beers with high bitterness ratings, but still have that smooth mouthfeel. So this Minnesota Hazy IPA Edge Catcher from Outstate. Great beer.
I like the East and the West. You know, you bring it together.
Absolutely. So along with, we mentioned Stumbino's, Outstate Brewing, Atlas Outdoor Services. You've got the koozie here from our craft beer tour. Atlas is a supporter of the show. We appreciate them. Victor Lundeen's, Lakes Area Grow Co., and of course Elks Point Bar and Grill. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate all you guys. Appreciate the sponsors, listeners. All right, where do we start here? With you. Let's start with you before the business, because
you want to know about me.
We want to know about you. So where were you born?
All right, we're gonna go that far back. Born in New Jersey. Father was a Marine, so that's where I lived for about 18 months. and then moved to San Clemente, California, and then resided after that. We went over the Ortega Mountains and settled in Lake Elsinore, California. And I lived there till 2003 when we moved here, my wife and I.
So did you move? Sorry, did you move? Sound like you moved around. Did you move around a lot as a kid with your being in the military, or not too much?
No, not too much. Ended up, New Jersey is where my father went, had me, and then went back to Cali. My dad's actually from Montana, small town called Havern, Montana. Okay. And my mom is from Whittier, California.
So did you say you graduated high school in New Jersey?
No, I actually graduated in California.
Okay.
So it was a small town, well, it's not a small town like here, but a small town in California, Lake Elsinore, California.
Gotcha. And then growing up, did you have business interests? It sounds like your dad was obviously served. Did your parents have business influence? Did anyone ever expect you to become a CEO?
I don't think so. No, I mean, my dad, he passed away when he was 34 of colon cancer. So he served in the military till that point, and then was discharged, obviously, because of this medical condition. And that's where we settled in Lake Elsinore at that point. So
okay, gotcha. So you had kind of that. How old were you when that happened?
I was 8 years old.
8 years old. Okay, bummer. That's to say the least, So.
Yep, it's life.
Yeah. So growing up then, what was your mom? What did she do?
Well, she was a single parent for my sister and I. She worked at banks. So she worked at the banking industry for a long time. She then, after that, once I graduated high school, she then started with the school district and worked as a paraeducator all the way till when she just finished up and retired. And now she actually lives here.
So the banking is maybe where you got your business roots. Then.
Sure, Mr. Moneybags, right? Yeah.
So where'd you go to college?
So I actually went to college online through Nazarene Bible College. Got my degree in pastoral ministries.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
I've got a weird story all around.
So were you then? You obviously are religious, or you were going to go into that field?
Yeah, I mean, I believe there's a calling on my life to pursue that at some point. It's just clear it's not right now. So I do serve as an elder at Calvary Chapel, Fergus Falls here in town. So
okay, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah,
good
you can
to
start
know.
seeing it all kind of in.
Yeah, no, it's good to know. So, you went to school for, like, you were going to be a pastor, or you were going to be a youth pastor or something, and just whatever.
When I was 16, I felt called to youth pastor. And then through that time of going through school, obviously not truly knowing exactly what I wanted to at that point, besides feeling that there was a call to ministry, I just did generals. And then at that point, later on, once we moved here, that's where it went to the Nazarene church, and then kind of felt like this is a time for me to get my schooling done and get done at that point. So then went to school online. Back in the ghetto days of online with, like the Microsoft chat rooms and stuff.
Okay.
Really cool time period there.
Wow. What year was that when you were doing online schooling?
I was about 06 to 08.
Okay.
Yeah. Moved here in 03. So.
Okay. And you got married when?
Got married when I was 19.
Okay.
In 1998. I graduated in 97. Got married in 98.
And remind me again of the sequence of life that brought you to Minnesota and Fergus Falls with just lay that out. You and your wife, I assume, moved here with kids?
We did. So I had my oldest son, Ethan. He was 1 at the time. We came to visit here. My wife's sister lives here in the Fergus Falls community, and so wanted to raise children together, wanted to afford a home on one income. California was expensive even back then. And then did want to experience 4 seasons, right? Like that, we didn't have that there. Now, of course, 1 season's a little more extreme here. However, no, it was a great time of really figuring out where it was God was leading us. It was then very clear, hey, we need to move here, be here, and raise our families together, and that's what we did.
So, career path then, once you got to Fergus, you were involved with churches, but then you realized that you were going back to school for online business stuff.
Is
that what your degree was when you went back online, or did you go for business?
Yeah, so it was generic. You know, obviously your 2-year degree was just generic. I was looking at criminal justice as a possibility as well at the time. Just wanting to serve. I'm really big into the service aspect of life, service leadership, that sort of thing. So that part of it just intertwines within business or, you know, church or whatever it is that I'm doing. So from that perspective, it was always that piece, which was the service aspect of it.
Awesome. And then how did you fall in with Liberty?
Yeah, so interesting.
Because they existed before you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's not by the way, just to clarify for the people, we get jingles stuck in our heads as like, that's how we're programmed as humans, right? So
Absolutely.
the liberty, 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 not the same, but
Not us.
but you may as well piggyback off of one of the most well-known jingles out there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do have a torch, you know, as part of it. So, I mean, it kind of fits that aspect. No, knew Ron well. Ron Furman is, you know, graduated Hillcrest Lutheran Academy, started basically cutting his teeth in copy print, realized he didn't want to work for anyone other than himself. So then, you know, left that job and then built Liberty. And it was him and one other gentleman that did the service tech aspect of it, because we sell the copy. We sell the copier and printer equipment, and then we also service it.
Gotcha.
And what's awesome is both of them are still here. So it's like 38 years, and they're still grinding it.
What year did they start the company?
86.
86. And they're still just grinding.
They're still doing it.
So,
yeah.
But you're the CEO.
Yep.
And so their role is what then?
Well, Paul got bought out later on, and he does all of our setup. So he sets up the equipment, makes sure the equipment's working and is in order before we actually, you know, get it to our clients. Ron definitely does a lot more of the mentorship side with myself and Neil, our sales manager. And then he's really kind of stepped away from the business in terms of the day-to-day operations. And that's kind of where I come in. So I knew him well outside of work through time with LB Homes, and he was on the board there. And so we interacted and knew of each other well. My background, because it's so diverse, like I say, I went from door to door to CEO. Like, it's just really weird of all the different transitions that I had in life, and to get me to this point. And there's one thing that I absolutely love, and that is culture and implementing culture that matters. And that was an area of opportunity for Ron and Liberty at the time. So I got brought in to help get that turned around.
Gotcha. So I noticed online it was like a Fargo address, but you guys are based out of Fergus. What's the connection to Fargo?
So we have multiple locations. We have one in Grand Forks. Our main hub, what you would say is kind of the corporate office, is in Fargo. And then we have the one over here in Tower. That's our Fergus location with our service tech that's there and our sales guy. And then we also have Bismarck.
Gotcha. How has that grown over the years then, as far as they started here in Fergus and then those locations grew? Do you know the timelines of that?
I don't have all the timelines without looking at it, obviously, because there was a lot of moving parts to that. Ron ended up purchasing the printer part of the business from Cooper's.
Oh.
And so that's what then that opened this part of it up here in town.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So Cooper's is still a competitor of yours or not anymore?
Nope.
Interesting. So I am still confused as to what you guys do. Obviously, you do printers. You set up printers for people. That's a big part of what you do.
Yeah, so there's copiers, right? Those are like the big dogs, the big guys that sit up there, have the big finishers and, you know, do the stapling, do the binding, do all the big stuff. Then you just have, you know, the printers, the smaller guys. You know, not being in the industry, I was kind of the same way. It's just like, well, what is this stuff and what does it do? And, you know, it's probably the least sexiest thing ever, right, to sell copiers and printers. However, the big part of it, as I said earlier, is service, right? And so it's our ability to help customers with the actual service side of the business. And so that's really where the big impact comes in. But what we do as a whole, our bread and butter is copier and printing, period, and servicing that equipment. We also then have shifted based off of, again, the changing needs of the industry and companies in general. For us, you know, it's not a one-size-fits-all. We got to look at, you know, what the different niches, small to medium to large size businesses, and what their needs are.
You want to come into the mic just a little bit there? Perfect.
And that would be, you know, really tied to doc management, this idea of, again, scanning, the ability of storage, and then also, then what else can it do? Well, it works with AI, account payables. It'll scan the invoices, throw them into QuickBooks for you. So it starts eliminating a lot of the need, because, you know, what we've heard from businesses is it's really hard to find people in certain seats, right? There's certain seats that are just really hard to fill, or there's a lot of turnover. Well, this helps those people in those seats not have a ton of work to where they're at burnout status. So it can either replace it, or, you know, help augment that seat so that somebody can do more work for the company, which is great.
That's perfect. You gave me the three things that you gave me that you wanted to talk about: copy print, document management, and business guide industries.
Yeah.
Business guide services. So should we get into the history of these things? Do you want to talk about that a little bit, the growth of those?
Sure.
So this is something you've never really listened to the show.
That's correct.
So this is my assistant here, went to work really hard for me this afternoon, getting all this information. My assistant may or may not play into the future of your industry and the streamlined ability to find information in your industry. So, ancient
I like
times.
though is that you printed it, right?
Well, we printed it. We printed it. And we've got I don't know if you service us or not, or who services our printers here. You do. You are? Okay. Okay. Well, anyways, it looks like ancient times here. We started out hand copying. I mean, scribes. We have scribes. It was like those early business guide services would have been like, you would have seen advertisements on like clay scribes in like central parts of town, and business directories in you know, central locations in town, that sort of thing. So obviously,
I like you explaining this. This is fun.
Right? Obviously, movable type, it looks like, originated in China. I'm assuming that's like the smacking of whatever. You get each individual letter and you smack it. Yep. Maybe that's like when that started to arise. It looks like the Gutenberg printing press, right? That was in the 15th century, and that was really when everything started that's what changed the industry.
Yep.
The printing press, the Industrial Revolution was happening then. By the 19th century, you had the birth of the typewriter. It looks like also in the 19th century, filing cabinets were invented. So Dr. Edwin Siebels, he invented the vertical filing system. So that was, you guys probably don't work with filing systems as much anymore, but
no, I mean, that's what the doc management piece does. It takes that it takes that digitally and creates a storage. So we use that. I mean, we still do have even filing cabinets at our own business, that are just years old, but we've scanned it and now put it into something that's, digital.
So yes, obviously printers really came to be in the more modern state of printers, inkjet, laserjet printers, sort of the 70s and 80s. We've had crazy advancements since then, but that's like when the inkjet printer came around. You saw more home-based computers in the 80s. People were starting to get access to computers. Floppy disks were, you could store, how much could you store on a floppy disk?
It wasn't a lot.
It wasn't a lot.
You could get Oregon Trail on a floppy disk.
Right. Really in the 90s was when started to see the first online directories, digital platforms for business listings, like the Yahoo directory. Yahoo was a big one. Mm-hmm. By the early 2000s, we started getting into some cloud printing and cloud-based stuff. That was, revolutionary to be able to just have something on your phone and print it and not have to bring in physical film or bring something physically to a location.
Yeah, or have to actually wire everything in, right?
Yep.
So,
do you guys do print service in that sense or not? You guys don't print for people as a service, or do you set up printers for people as a service more?
The latter.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. And then obviously the DMS, what is that? Document management systems.
Yep.
The web-based document management systems really allows people like you, businesses like you, to help people remotely. So you guys can set all that stuff up for them. Most of that stuff is happening online now. People still keep physical records for things like Medical incidents, I'm sure, need physical records. Probably police reports need to be held physically. I'm not sure what other things like
There's some
by
tax
law,
things and stuff like that,
taxes,
tax wise, that you'd want
deeds.
to. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, all that you would want to scan that and have that as a digital copy as well.
So, what are some of the diving into that, like the document management and business guide services you guys do? Like, how would you set somebody up with like business guide services? And
so
document
that's unique. It's something that we haven't shared a lot with. It's something new to what kind of the long-term projection is for Liberty Business Systems, and it's something that I do personally. So I'm a Pinnacle business guide, and so what I do is I build operating systems for companies. So it's companies that are struggling with culture, the bedrock tools of like talent assessment. What does that look like? How do I have tough conversations? What do those look like? What's strategy, right? It's a catchword. Strategy. We got to talk about strategy, or like marketing. All of those pieces, I help implement those systems into a business so that the business can actually operate clearly. So systems to me is just a big acronym. It's save yourself sanity, time, energy, and money systematically.
Ooh.
You like that? Yeah.
That's a clip right there. That one's going to reel. We'll reel that one. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
And so what we want to do is, kind of my phrase to that, if you to put it to a one kind of strategy phrase, is simplifying the chaos of business. Because business is crazy. Because we have people involved in it, right?
Yeah.
If you remove people, everything's great.
Well, we're going to talk about that in the future outlook of your industry, removing people.
And so, with that, it's how do you build out a system that makes sense to help work people to have healthy conflict, to do all of these things, and that's kind of what I do with the business system part.
So you're as much of a consultant.
Don't like
anything.
that word.
You don't like that word.
I don't like
Why
that
not?
word. A consultant is definitely more of a high value person that's going to tell you do these things, right? Whereas a guide is going to come alongside and partner with you and say, all right, this is the tool, now let's talk about it. I'll ask some clarifying questions. What exactly does this mean? Why do you need help with this? Or what are you struggling with? Why? What does it look like?
Yeah.
So then I dig kind of deep. Like I say, I would go into the valley with them, versus a consultant that's very much like, I can come in from the outside and look at it and be like, well, you need to fix this, this, and this, and it's going to cost you X.
Yeah. It's the same reason, actually, why they used to call, I work here at the radio station, they used to call my position a account representative or something like that. And now we're media consultants.
Yeah.
Because we're not sales reps. They don't want us to be a sales rep, even though that's what we do. We sell radio ads.
Well, everyone sells.
We sell. But the idea is that building that partnership, right? Building a rapport with somebody that is more than just like a transactional business.
Yeah, exactly.
thing.
Yep.
So interesting. So how many clients do you guys have?
So right now we have 6 clients.
Okay.
And because obviously it's myself. And so there's only so much I can do on top of also
Is
the
that
CEO.
company? Now, you said you had spots in like Grand Forks and other locations.
In Bismarck. And
Company wide, are there other people at other locations? Or are you a one-man show in all of
right
these
now
spots?
it's a one-man show.
Dang.
It's a large.
So there's just you two, it's just
a
the 2
larger
owners and
vision.
you.
So there's Ron, who's the owner.
Yep.
I'm the CEO, and then I have my buddy Neil, who's our sales manager, and helps really fit the rest of the operations piece in there. So
But it's a very tight, small operation you guys have there.
oh yeah, we run efficient and effective.
There we go. Interesting. I just assumed multiple locations. You had people all over, but more people,
we have
more
people
problems.
at the locations, but yeah,
More people, more problems.
I like it. We simplify the chaos of business, so we do it by simplifying.
I love it. So you mainly target, I assume, larger businesses. No.
I mean, my baby, or like what I absolutely love, are those small to medium sized businesses where it's like you had an entrepreneur who just has what I call the G2R2, the grind, rinse, and repeat, and they just grinded it out and they're successful. But then their success hits the ceiling, right? And then it's like, what now? Where do they go? I don't know what to do. Like, what's the next step? I just keep hitting my head on this ceiling, and that's where I come in, come alongside, partner with them, bring in a system that makes sense for them because I build it to them. We don't believe there's a one-size-fits-all system. There's systems out there, right? There's like a Pinnacle, which is our approach. There's scaling up. There's a book called E-Myth Revisited. There's The Great Game of Business, and there's EOS. So there's all these different ideas. What we do is say, hey, let's just take this approach of let's find what you need and put it all together and then take all the best from it and then build you the best operating system for your business.
I like it. When I first heard of you guys, I don't know why, like I did just like a little bit of like Googling, just like the most surface level, like dig into you guys. And for some reason I thought you sold like office chairs and filing cabinets and stuff. Like I was like, oh, okay. But so that must be a misconception, or how do you get people to understand what you do? How do you get people to understand what you have available to them?
Well, I mean, it's things like this, right?
This interview, right? I love to be a part of it. I love it.
You're like, wow. Yeah, and that's why we really wanted to simplify really who we are, and that's where it just really came into our bread and butter is copy, print, and then serving. Like, kind of our purpose is reimagining service through people. Like, we really believe in one of our pillars, what we would say is our differentiator, is B2B, we say, nope, it's P2P. It's person to person. It's doing this. So it's getting our people out, what we would call our account managers or account representatives. They're out there just engaging. They're shaking hands, kissing babies, opening doors. Like that's the key. I don't want to ever lose sight of that because that's where the power and the magic happens for people. Yeah. So that's kind of, that's how we're getting the word out on what we do. It's always been copy print. People have known that for forever. But now it's like, okay, we've got this great tool. We've partnered with Doc Management. It's an amazing tool. It's custom built to these companies. That's what another great piece to it is. It's just not this one size fit all.
So what's this? You partnered with this Doc Management?
Yeah, so Doc Management, DOCMGT. They are a group that came from the world of like a Square 9 or some of the larger doc management systems that charge a ton because they have so much that they can do. And they came with the philosophy a lot, much like us, which was, okay, we've got this here and you've got these needs, but your needs only fit like in like a tier 1 area, right? Like a smaller area. So based off of that, let's just build, let's have the ability to build this for them at a much smaller rate. Because, a lot of people, you go through the find out that, guess what? I need this. I need help. This is the tool that I'm going to need. Okay, well, that's going to cost you like $30,000 up front. Okay, most small to, businesses are like, that's a lot of money to do. However, I need it, so how do I make this work? Whereas we can come alongside, look at it and say, hey, it's scaled down. So the professional services aspect to actually build this thing is going to cost you less. And so that's really where we've seen the light with it. And of course, shifting because industry's shifting, right? I mean, we say print's not dead because it's not. It's just changing and evolving.
But in comparison to what it was, it's, I mean, what would you say fractionally? Because I actually this is my first office job. I've only really been working like in the sales and office world probably for like 3.5 months. So I never printed stuff in my life. And now I'm printing stuff all the time. I'm printing sales sheets. I'm printing all kinds of stuff. You just love it. Don't you?
Just keep printing, baby. They may not like it here, but just keep printing.
Just keep printing.
That's awesome.
So, what, I guess, the volume of that stuff, how again, just to recap me, how long have you been with the company?
I've been 3 years.
3 years. So you haven't really seen the industry before. I mean, obviously AI has changed it a lot over the last 3 years.
AI and COVID. Yeah, so I came in after the fact. COVID definitely changed in terms of the environment in which people work in, right? People went home. And now we're seeing that people are coming back to the office in a lot of regards. And so because of that, needs change. There's a lot more printer needs versus the big copiers. So there's some of those things that have changed. The other thing is and that we love to talk about and we just scream it from the rooftops is we want people to print color without fear because color is expensive. It's always been the notion. It's always been the thing of, well, we can't print
I print
color.
all my one sheets in color, baby.
There you go. Keep doing it. And so what we did is we've partnered with Kyocera and then Epson and just said, they have this ability now to look at color differently. So they have tiered color with Kyocera where, it can go as low as 2 cents for certain percentage. It's kind of the dots per page, like how much print you actually put on it of color.
Interesting. I
Yes.
love this. I love we're going down this conversation.
Right?
I didn't know we were going into this chat.
Hey,
Yes.
we'll just keep going.
Yeah.
And then we also have the part with like Epson, which is this inkjet technology, which is different from the technology of Kyocera, right? Like the Xerox time frame, like the old stuff, that's all laser. So that uses heat. Okay, so it actually runs it through with a toner, like that toner stuff that gets all over your hands, it drives you nuts, and then it heats it onto the page. Whereas Epson has said, okay, we're going to use inkjet technology, which is, we're going to have this print head that's literally this big. And I mean, I'm talking a couple inches.
Okay.
Okay. And it's going to pump all of this ink through it and then put it on the paper. And then there's no heat. There's only like 14 working parts in it. And so because of that technology, I can run color prints for like 3 cents, as low as 3 cents. I'll say it that way because it depends on how much you print. And so it's kind of changed the game. And for us at Liberty, when I came in, I'm like, I want to change the game. I came from a wireless industry thing, with texting and calling and all that stuff. And so then it became a thing of like, okay, why don't we just bring some of this philosophy here into this? Because we deal with leases, we deal with paperwork, the terms and conditions, all that stuff, right? Everyone reads it, as we know, right? Everyone reads line by line. No,
Right.
nobody does. And so people were putting themselves in positions because of the salesmanship of the industry to lock people in. And I was like, this isn't fair.
So go back just to this, the efficiency of printing, the efficiency of color printing. Is it? So I would love to see like an industry trend in the cost of printing, like per page. Obviously with innovation comes efficiencies. The longer things happen, you have advancements, technological advancements. Is it the ink itself that has gotten cheaper? Or obviously you mentioned like the distribution of the ink and how little they use, but color is more expensive than black and white, obviously still,
Yes,
right?
because you're obviously using more ink, right, in different colors to mix to make the colors, right? So you got your generic colors, and then you actually have to mix them. The system does that and puts it onto the paper. Now, laser, the good old laser uses heat. That hasn't changed. I mean, it's been like 20 years because it works so well. Probably it's longer than that. I mean, you're talking 40 years. Like now it's gotten more efficient in terms of the part usage, but it still uses the same good old technology. It's gonna ring through. It's actually fascinating. And our help desk guy, Josh, if ever get re-invited, I'd bring him here and he could explain it. It's crazy, like the actual process that it takes for the toner to get to the paper because it uses magnets and everything else. It's crazy. He disconnected it. We went with a transformer and broke apart, our copier and was like, all right, explain this to us. It's like we're a fifth grader. So he went through the whole process. And then you get to like this Epson inkjet, which uses no heat. And it's like he pulls it out and there's like, see these parts right here? We're like, yeah. And he's like, that's it. And that's all it's doing.
When did that new Epson technology start coming out then?
Well, they've had it in printers for a while. Like you've seen Shaq kind of pushing those printers. You can see them at, Walmart, those sorts of things. They just got into the space a few years ago in terms of the business space, the B2B, if you will, space, where now they're making full-size copiers. And they're starting to change the game. And so it's been fun. Our story is very, very similar. We wanted to disrupt the industry. We wanted to be different by design. And so we started that process of changing who we were at Liberty, doing things differently. I mean, if you visit our website, like we're a little punk rock, like that's just me. So it's like we kind of brought that theme and that idea behind it of like, print's not dead, all of that kind of stuff. We just decided we're going to be different. And so, by doing that, we now have a partner in Epson that they've kind of want to do the same thing. We want to be different. We're going to be a little radical, and we're gonna push the envelope of what people thought traditional print was like.
So where do you see the growth of your guys' services? Like, obviously that you have there's a limited amount of things you can do with print. That's why you guys are into this doc management. That's why you guys are kind of doing the business, or the business directories, that sort of thing. Where do you see the future of your industry going?
Yeah, I
Or
think
the bread and butter of your guys' business.
I think it's going to continue to quote unquote decline until there is like that average that kind of happens. We've seen, and from some of the experts and such, you're talking like a 1% decrease. So it's moving very slowly because it's changing, right? And so that's why we're ahead with the doc management piece. We wanted to be able to find something that caters. I mean, you still have to scan documents, so you still need the copiers and the copier there to scan all the stuff in, so that then you have a digital copy of it. So that's where it's like, let's find all the pieces that help augment and change and shift with a business, and then grow with the business as we partner with them. So that's kind of where the change is happening.
Cybersecurity, you guys, is that like more of your partner, doc management? What do you guys do for that? Cybersecurity
that would be
is
IT.
huge, right?
That would be IT. We are not in the IT game, and that's by design. Most of everyone I would say, I don't believe in having competitors, if you will, but those that are also in the copy print game, they're all in IT. And so we have a lot of IT partners that are like, we want to work with you guys because you're not in it. And that's by design. We're kind of
when a business is going to get hacked by some foreign interest, because I think a lot of that stuff's happening right now. I mean, I'm a speculator by nature. I am.
Yeah. What have you been looking at online, huh?
No, I just, when something happens, when I see something like Microsoft crashed, it was some big update, shut down all these businesses and grounded all these flights. I'm like, something tells me there was a little bit more to that than just like a update on a Microsoft system.
I didn't think we're going down this rabbit hole, are we?
Well, clearly you haven't listened to the show.
So this is a norm. Okay, I'm in. I'm going to go and start downloading and listening right away.
This is the exception. This is the norm. Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
I had an interview with a guy who was a Marine scout sniper.
Yeah.
And we talked about like the Trump assassination. So we have all kinds of fun on this show. I love to
awesome.
speculate. I love to speculate.
But no, we don't do the IT portion of the business. And that's by design. That obviously would take a lot of resources away from us, and we want to be the best. So we're not looking to be the biggest, just the best. Yep. And so we're going to be the best in the things we can control, and those three things are the things we control and do a great job at.
That's a good model in anything. They say, like, if you're advertising, you should fill one cup first, right? Make sure that you've got this advertising on point before you move to another thing. I think business is the same way, right? Offer one service that you can nail, and then when you got that, add something else, but don't take away from what you have going on.
Right, and that's funny because most visionaries or entrepreneurs, they're the ones that just have all these crazy ideas, and so it's very hard because they want to just every idea that they have, they think is great, and that's where you got to have somebody in that position below them to filter it. We call it second in command or COO or something of that nature, and be, hey, I love your ideas. You know what? Of those 20. About 18 of them suck. Just going to tell you that. And I'm going to do it with love. However, these other two are fantastic. Let's throw them up on the, in the parking lot and let's figure it out. Yeah. But you need that filter. So kind of like with you and conspiracy theories and stuff, maybe 10 of them are actually 10 of the 12 are probably something that are just fully fake. But 2 of them might be.
I wouldn't. Here's my theory with conspiracy theories is that there's just a little bit of truth to everything. Like I don't think things surface for no reason. So like I think there's just a little bit of truth in everything. Some of that stuff's purely manufactured just to rile people up and just to get people going. But I tend to think there's just like fractions of truth in a lot of that stuff.
I like it.
Yeah. Let's get into some speculation about the future of your industry, though. AI, I mean, where do you see this thing going with business? I really think the cybersecurity, obviously that's not something you guys do with the IT cybersecurity stuff, but whenever you're talking doc management, businesses trusting, working with you to manage proprietary information, that's a I think that's something that's like a huge question mark in the industry.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, from the dock management point of view, that becomes theirs. You know, we just work with dock management to build it out and then to ensure that it's working. So from that part of it, that's kind of where we, you know, part ways there, so that there's not that accountability piece. Just, you know, from our perspective, in terms of where we see the industry going, it's going to, I believe, because of sustainability. You know, the people that speak of climate change and wanting to save the world and the environment and all those things, I think you're going to see that shift also within our industry. And that's really where Epson has started to thrive, is because it's less waste, less moving parts. So you have this ability to not have, I mean, their headquarters in California is fully sustainable.
Of course it is. It's in California.
Right.
Of course it's
Yeah,
sustainable.
they're forced to, right? But you know, going there, I mean, they have the ability to just to let it run by itself through water and the you know, the garden up on top of the building that they've got. So they've done all this work to really ensure that they could do these things and do them well. And then now they're putting that into, you know, their equipment. So I think from that standpoint, you're gonna see that less equipment in terms of its size, less moving parts, all those things to help with it. Inkjet versus toner, still always going to need to recycle and do those sorts of things with it, but I think that they're going to become more efficient with it. Less heat with Epson, you don't have heat, so it's a lot less power. You can run it off of a battery. It's pretty cool, whereas with these big copiers that we've got that use heat, I mean, you got to have them plugged in. You got to have them, you know, power surge and all those things, because they can just fry that board quickly. So a lot of power tied to that, a lot of energy. So I think that that's where the industry goes. Is that shift. Now, what does that mean in terms of print? I think print is going to continue to augment and change.
It says here, my assistant says, AI-driven printers and copiers will become more common, offering predictive maintenance, automated supply ordering, and customized printing solutions. So
we already have that.
Already exists.
Yeah,
all of that stuff already exists.
Yeah, yep. So we utilize they call them DCAs, but what it is you know, we put software, you know, on the computer, obviously, as long as the company is okay with it. And what it does is it registers the levels. So once somebody gets low on print, you know, on ink or toner, then we just go ahead and send it out to them.
Just processes an order.
We get ahead of the game for them. So yeah, so some of that is happening now. In terms of AI doing that, no, we don't do that now. I mean, we obviously work with the computer itself, and you know, in the sense of it flagging it for us, and then we order it. But yeah, you could very clearly see that from an AI perspective, it's going to change where you could put those workflows in, and then it'll just automatically order it and ship it.
It says demand for personalized print materials may rise, with AI offering tailored solutions based on user preference and needs. I'm trying to think, like, AI generated stuff. I don't know if I really see a need. I feel like we're going to go more towards everything's going to go digital. The green solution, that you're going to see a push. I mean, do you know, are there initiatives to, like, political initiatives to reduce and remove paper? Obviously, the Go Green movement that's happening. California's leading the movement, but there's a lot. I mean, we as a nation have to do better, coast to coast, when it comes to reducing, reusing, making sure that we are as efficient as possible as a species. So where do you see, I guess, that going? I'm just curious.
I mean, we already see recycled paper and stuff of that nature. I think that's the extent of where it's going to go. Obviously, if you're still going to print, it may just be that. However, there's still high quality paper you need in order to get the nice shiny look that you want. So there's still going to be that there. I don't know that you're going to get away from that at all unless they find a way to make recycled glossy paper that's high performance. I don't know. I don't know where that's at with that. But yeah, in terms of, you know, other sustainable things, I think the ability to recycle is gonna improve. You're also looking at, again, less parts or recycled parts, you know, recycled plastics being used for the equipment as well. So there's those variables that I see actually will happen with the industry and kind of move it along.
What do you know about the Internet of Things? Do you know anything about the Internet of Things?
The Internet of Things?
Do you know
I know
about?
that I have a I have a part of my Wi-Fi that says Internet of Things, IoT.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It just says that Internet of Things devices will streamline workflows. So I assume that that's going to be more, again,
It's your smart home things. It's your
Yes.
smart technology pieces. Yep, that's what
exactly.
it is.
A big part of it, I don't know how it'll incorporate with businesses, but or like doc management stuff, but I do think the sleeping giant in the internet is still tokenized assets and still blockchain technology. I think that we had the huge boom during COVID, and now nobody's talking about blockchain technology. Nobody's talking about businesses customizing tokens to represent their
Sure.
assets in time and how all that stuff's going to be managed and move around the internet. So I actually think that will play into document management in a sense that I think when you start seeing maybe not document management as much as like asset management when it comes to concert tickets, digital assets, music, how we transfer.
You talking the ability to pay for it?
The ability to pay for it or the ability to actually move that digital product back and forth with each other.
Yeah.
Whatever that product may be, the Internet of Things, whatever those things or that information may be, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what we've heard from the industry perspective, not heard anything along those lines as being of, I guess, importance or things that are being worked on. They could be on the back end, but I've not heard of that.
Well,
sorry, man.
No, that's why it's a sleeping. I think that that world of blockchain technology, it's one day it's going to be like, oh, of course, because we all heard about that back in 2008 when Bitcoin, and then everybody laughed at it, and it's just too good of a technology. It makes too much sense of a technology for me and giving power to the people that I don't see how it's a part of a part of our future. I just don't see how it's part. The financial revolution is coming, people.
I was going to say there's probably people in the government that would be fighting to block that.
Yes, it's happening. I mean, the lines are
I
being
can see it on your face.
The lines are being drawn politically with that stuff. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about business. I need to get the thing that surprised you, the biggest surprise throughout your career or life or just maybe your short career with Liberty.
Biggest surprise.
Biggest surprise. And then I'm going to ask best business advice after that, but biggest surprise.
I would say, well, I wouldn't just look at Liberty. I would look at it as a whole, if that's fair. Based off my time learning leadership, the majority of leaders in this world suck. Okay? I'm just going to say it. So hopefully that's a real piece too, right? Like I can say that. They suck. They just do. You have a lot of people that don't know how to lead and lead effectively. They may be able to manage something because it's like, well, you got to just follow this, right? I've got this, I'm going to follow it, and then I'm going to hold you accountable to it. Well, that's management. But how do I inspire? How do I motivate? How do I tell a story that gets you invested so that you and I can grab hands, partner, and do something fantastic, right? I just met with a client earlier today. Their technology that I'm talking to with them is going to change the world. And they're like, we need help putting a system together to do this. And it's like, I can get behind that because guess what? That's motivating. That's inspiring.
Yeah.
Like, you can't leave the table shaking hands and being like, hey, we get to go change the world. But I got to do that this morning. Like, that's cool stuff. So it's leadership to me is the most surprising of how poorly we've done. Like, we've got AI, you've got internet, you got the Internet of Things. And then you've got just crappy leaders. Like, we got to do better. Yeah. See, there's my.
I love it.
I just took a step off my soapbox.
That's a good perspective of something like that. Yeah, that's a surprise. That would surprise me, I guess, because I have had bosses. I've had bad bosses. I have a really good one right now.
Did they tell you to say that?
No, he didn't tell me to say that. I doubt Doug or Steph even listens to the show this far into it, but they're good bosses. I'm working. And so, yeah, I think that is a surprise when you would assume that every company leadership is important. it's like very important, but it's
vital to the culture.
It is,
And that's why
yeah.
so many people are miserable at work. That's why you see the memes all the time of people that just like, I hate work. I just want to be home. Right. I don't feel that way. Like, and we do everything we can to ensure that people don't feel that way at Liberty. But then also from the Pinnacle business side of things, I want to ensure the businesses I work with don't do that or feel that way either. And so how do we do that? It's by building great leaders.
I like that. All right. Best business advice.
So I'm going to go through our core values real quick, if you're cool with that, because and I'll just go through the two that I think are the most important for that. One is 1% better. Just continuously improve. Seek improvement in all aspects of your life, but especially, from a business perspective. I mean, I want you to be a great parent. I want you to be a great spouse. I want you to be, great to work with outside. I want you to be a great neighbor. Like, I want you to be the best at doing that. Well, the way that we do that is by being 1% better, right? Just constantly seeking growth. And then the second is failing forward. Don't be afraid to fail. People like to make fun of people that fail all the time. And guess what? It's because those people aren't doing a darn thing, right? So they're not going out and putting themselves out there. They're going to sit and eat their Cheetos behind a keyboard and type things out that are mean-spirited. Go out and do it. Fail. Learn how not to do it so that you can, again, that's how you get 1% better, right?
That's right.
And then you get to drive. So that's how you build great leaders, is by going out, being willing to fail, and then fail forward. Like, don't keep doing the same thing, right? That's just dumb. That's where, you're just constantly in that perpetual motion. No, but learn from it, figure out what you need to do differently, and then go out and do it, and just keep doing it. Keep striving.
Great advice. I like it. The fail forward, that comes up so much. It's such a, it kind of becomes a cliche at some point, but it's like, there's a reason why that exists. There's a reason why almost every business person really focuses on that. Like, the future is reserved for those who take action, Well,
like my sales manager says, I got my PhD in stupidity, right? And so it's like, I love that because it's so true. Like that, once you fall and you do something stupid, the question is what are you going to do with it? Are you going to continue to be dumb, or are we going to actually turn the corner, learn from it, and try and seek to get better? Well, leaders, people in general, like, we just need to learn to be better. So find the solution and go after it, become 1% better. So yeah.
I like those core values a lot. That's really good stuff. So how can the people get a hold of you? Let's say they really like you and they want to become one of your clients, or they would love to at least have a discovery meeting with you, get to know you a little bit.
Yeah. The best thing to do would be, you could go to our website, libertybusiness.com, and you can reach out. That we have a quote tool where you could just actually go on and say, contact me. Also through the Pinnacle line of the work, it's called lightingthewayleadership.com. That's another way you can get a hold of me. Or if you just want my email address, it's SNESS, so Steven Ness, so SNESS at libertybusiness.com. But yeah, the best way to do it is just to go to the website.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk with
This was
me.
a blast, bro.
Wasn't it fun?
Oh, I liked it.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think if there's any other topics that are worth diving into before we get off the mic. We do have time if we want to go there.
How much time do we got?
I mean, we could talk all night. Where the radio portion of the show is over.
Okay.
So anything we can go off the rails, FCC. We can say all the 7 words that we're not supposed to say now.
I don't even know what those words are.
I think it's mainly swear words.
Okay.
It's a bunch of swear words. George Carlin said them all at once on the radio.
Oh, there we go.
But no, so I just really appreciate your time. I'm glad to do
I
a business. I'm glad to do a business interview. So when I moved back to town, I started the Fergus Falls Business Spotlight podcast.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to do business stuff, mainly cover my friends' businesses. I didn't know how long the show was going to last. I just wanted to interview people within our community and figure out how this economy connects. Not necessarily the details or the boring parts of like the numbers and the business, although I've learned a lot about that stuff, but mainly how we as people interact with each other in our community. And so I've just had a blast. I'm glad that I'm getting back on track with like a Fergus Business Spotlight. The podcast may soon be rebranding to something a little more inclusive.
A little more. Okay.
But I really appreciate having you on today. So
Yeah,
thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I think it's interesting, this concept that you do have in wanting to do this. There's one thing I find interesting about the Fergus Falls community is we say a lot about wanting to be local and stay local, but we don't always act that way. So as somebody that I know well says, the audio doesn't always match the video. So I think it is important that, okay, who is actually local? Who is doing this job? Who's really trying to make an impact in the community? And let's get them on and let's learn about them. That is really cool. It's a great philosophy.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you. Thank you to the sponsors, Atlas Outdoor Services, Outstate Brewing Company, Stumbinos, Victor Lundeen's, Lakes Area Grow Co., and Elks Point Bar and Grill.
Awesome.
This might be episode 100. We might have just finished.
Ooh.
We might have just finished episode 100 of
Do
the
we have
show.
balloons or something? Or
Right,
what?
boom. Get some- No, I'm excited to see where this thing goes, guys. Thanks for listening.